Have you ever felt like there's something stopping you from losing weight and it isn't just your food choices? Well, in this video, I'm going to be showing you the 33 triggers. And it's something I created after losing 100 pounds in 1 year. And it helps me transform my life now. So I know it would have helped me when I was 300 pounds. So, first off, let's get into it with the hidden weight loss journey, understanding your 33 deepest struggles. Weight loss is rarely about just the numbers on the scale. You don't have to lose weight every single day to be losing weight in a week or in a month. And it may sound simple, but it's not easy. Um, I've been trying to lose 10 pounds for the last 10 days and I've gained 3 pounds. If I was, a rookie, I would be discouraged and I would start binge eating. But instead, I'm just going to turn it up a notch. I'm going to go into a harder deficit. And what this is going to do is force change. Sometimes we have to force change and not hope for it to come. And that's what I mean by weight loss is rarely just about numbers on the scale. Behind every pound lies a complex web of psychological battles, biological realities, and practical obstacles that can feel overwhelming. So let's start with the psychological battles. Like for me, my biggest one is emotional eating. And like, let's say I'm trying to, get my business right, and I didn't get as many sales as I'm used to, and I worked out today. So I eat a comfort meal, and the comfort meal won't take me closer to my goals, but it will make me feel better in the moment. Well, that's a psychological battle that has nothing to do with a meal plan or a workout plan, excuse me. And this is going to be super raw and unedited and just want to give value and show you what's really stopping you from losing weight. This isn't about high edits, it's about focus and understanding you that your biological realities and your psychological battles may be different than mine, but you have someone if you're not losing weight and you know what to do, this is exactly what's stopping you. It's the behind the walls. So the biological realities, like things like you don't have a good metabolism, you need to change that. The practical obstacles, if you don't know how to change it, just look it up. It's easy to change. And just a simple tip, start working out, and that will automatically speed up your metabolism. And practical obstacles that can feel overwhelming. For example, let's say if you can't make it to the gym on time because you work every single day. This is so real. This is for a lot of people. That can feel super overwhelming, but you can try every time you come home and you watch TV. You can just do push-ups during the breaks of TV, and that's the start. You can start going on a run after your meals or going on a walk after your meals. If you've ever felt like you're fighting an invisible wall with yourself, you're not alone, and more importantly, you're not broken. This is real because a lot of times people feel like they're in a war with themselves, and I feel like this, and you should, like, because you are. And it's you versus you in this world, and no one's going to help you become a better version of yourself more than you. This guide explores the 33 of the most profound challenges people face on their weight loss journey, organized from the deepest emotional struggles to the everyday roadblocks. Understanding these struggles is the first step toward compassion, clarity, and lasting change. Each obstacle you face has a root cause, and each cause has a solution waiting to be discovered. The foundation. Deep psychological and emotional struggles. At the core of every weight loss journey lie powerful psychological forces that often operate beneath our conscious awareness. So let's go through this. If you have problems underneath the surface, such as, you're poor or you just have terrible habits, these are going to be the things that are stopping you from losing weight. And you may feel like you're poor, but there's someone out there who has a worse budget than you and they're eating healthier than you. And um, that's the psychological battle. Sometimes you may feel poor, but you're not poor. If you have $100 a month, that's better than someone else who's budgeting on, $100 every 2, 3, 4 months, or even, people who don't even know how much money they have. They just live by the day. Um, it's a lot of illusions that we live in because we like making ourselves comfortable. You have to find your illusions that you're living in. One of my traps is for sure like comfort eating. And this is what we're going to talk about down here with emotional eating, using food as a coping mechanism for stress, loneliness, anxiety, or to fill emotional voids. That's mine. I don't ever feel lack of self-worth. You may feel this one. I don't. I know after losing 100 pounds that I feel way better. And I know losing this last 10 or 20 pounds will absolutely boost my body and business. But it's The self sabotage gets me, unconsciously undermining your own progress due to limiting beliefs and fear of past failures repeating. Imagine working out for a week, you don't get results, and then you just be like, man, forget this, is not working. That's self sabotage. Self sabotage stands at the pinnacle of these challenges. It's the mysterious force that makes us abandon our plans. And just as we're starting to see progress, the voice that whispers we don't deserve success, the pattern that repeats itself despite our best intentions. This unconscious undermining often stems from past failures that have created neural pathways of protection, your mind trying to shield you from pain and disappointment by ensuring you never get close enough to fail again. So if you quit before you even tried hard enough, then your mind doesn't feel like you failed. So it's better to just be like, man, I ain't even gonna try. Like, imagine a guy in a race, and there's two people in a race, and there's that guy and the skinny guy, and the fat guy and the skinny guy take off, and the skinny guy is like 5 steps ahead at the beginning. The fat guy's like, man, nah, I didn't even want to race anyway. Instead of trying at least 50% or 60% to like it was actually a race, he just walks away and be like, I got you. Look, this guy's running. I pranked him. He'd rather switch it into that. And it's easier to do that than, face the battles. You know, Emotional eating follows closely behind, representing our attempt to soothe uncomfortable feelings with the temporary comfort food provides. When we reach for snacks during stress or boredom, we're not lacking willpower, we're seeking relief from emotional pain through one of the most accessible sources of dopamine available. This pattern often begins in childhood and becomes deeply ingrained as a survival mechanism for managing difficult emotions. This is so true for me. That's how I became 300 pounds. I was going through a lot as a kid. Like my mom and dad, they weren't together when they were kids. I know that played a big part. I was stressed out as a kid trying to make it in football. I knew I wasn't going to go to college if I didn't make it to scholarship, and that stressed me out. I wasn't playing because I was overweight and I didn't have the best position. That stressed me out. I didn't have money and I couldn't buy the new clothes. That stressed me out. And all of that as a kid, it of course you're going to eat a cheeseburger and fries because it makes you feel good and they're marketing to you. You know what I'm saying? And now when you're an adult and it's your turn, it's your choice, the difference is now you get to go be your own boss. You get to be like, man, I work my butt off. I'm going to go get the things that make me feel better. And that's what it says. This pattern often begins in childhood and becomes deeply ingrained as a survival mechanism, just to stay alive and keep our sanity. Fear, the invisible chain. The fears that hold us back. Fear operates as an invisible chain, keeping us locked in patterns. That is an no, excuse me. Fear operates as an invisible chain, keeping us locked in patterns that no longer serve us. Fear of failure paralyzes us before we even begin. We'd rather not try than risk the pain of another disappointment. This fear is especially powerful for those who've experienced the yo-yo of weight loss and regain, each cycle deepening that belief that lasting success is impossible. So if you lose 20 pounds and gain it back, and then lose 20 pounds and gain it back, and then lose 10 pounds and then gain it back, you might as well feel like, oh, I just might as not well lose weight because losing weight doesn't work. I'm going to gain it back anyway. Then you have the fact fear of judgment adds another layer of complexity. We worry about what others think of us when we order a salad instead of fries, when we leave a party early to maintain our sleep schedule, or when we share our goals only to fall short. This fear can be so powerful that some people would rather stay invisible in their current state than risk the vulnerability of trying and being watched. Imagine that. The fear of failure, the paralyzing worry that you'll invest time and energy only to end up right back where you started. The fear of judgment, concern over how others perceive your efforts, your body, and your inevitable setbacks along the way. All or nothing thinking, the belief that one slip means total failure, destroying the progress you've carefully built. By the way, all of these are triggers. If you haven't got the hint, these are all triggers of the 33. I said we're going to go through 33 triggers. We're going through them as we go. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going through them and just keep going. This is comparison trap and motivation cycles. In our hyper-connected world, the comparison trap has become more insidious than ever. Social media feeds the overflow with transformation photos, before and after comparisons, and carefully curated success stories. We measure our chapter 1 against someone else's chapter 20. Excuse me. We measure our chapter 1 against someone else's chapter 20, forgetting that every journey is unique and that only the meaningful comparison is our own past self. So if you have two runners And one runner is comparing his last run to his next run, and another runner is comparing himself to every other runner. Who do you think is going to be more successful? The guy who's compares his last runs, not the guy who compares himself to others. Comparison feeds into inconsistent motivation, that familiar pattern where we start strong, brimming with enthusiasm and determination, only to watch that fire slowly dim. We beat ourselves up for lacking the same motivation we see in others, not realizing that motivation is inherently unreliable. It's a feeling that comes and goes like weather, not a character trait we possess or lack. Initial enthusiasm, excitement and determination when starting a new plan. Early success, quick wins that reinforce motivation and commitment. The plateau, progress slows, results become less visible. The motivation starts to fade, enthusiasm wanes, discipline feels harder, then you restart or quit. So you go from initial enthusiasm to early success, the plateau, motivation fades, restart or quit. What successful people understand is that motivation doesn't sustain behavior, systems do. If you ever read the book James Clear and it talks about atomic habits, it says you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. This is exactly what that means. Successful people build systems and structures and habits that carefully that carry them through the inevitable valleys when feelings fail them. They've learned to expect motivation to be inconsistent and have prepared accordingly with routines, accountability, and environmental design that makes healthy choices the path of least resistance. For many people, weight loss are intimately connected to underlying trauma experiences that have shaped their relationship with food, their bodies, and their sense of safety in the world. Trauma can manifest as using extra weight as protective armor, unconsciously keeping the body larger to feel safe or less visible. It can appear as control issues around food following childhood experiences or scarcity or chaos. So, if you have certain trauma as kids, you have to address this. You can't just ignore it. These connections between past experiences and present struggles aren't always obvious. You have to identify them yourself. Someone might not connect their binge eating to emotional neglect they experienced as a child, or their difficulty losing weight to sexual harassment they endured as a teenager. So you have to make this connection as a person. Like, what is the thing that's stopping you? These threads run through the fabric of many weight loss journeys, invisible but influential, quietly sabotaging efforts that focus only on calories and exercise. The body image struggle. You cannot hate yourself into a version of yourself you love. Self-compassion isn't a luxury, it's a necessity for sustainable transformation. That's dope. Body image struggle. Negative body image operates, obviously, as both cause and effect in weight loss struggles. It's difficult to care for a body you've learned to hate. If you hate your body, how can you try to love it? I remember being 300 pounds and I didn't like my body at all. And I used to walk past the mirror like fast, didn't care about it. And now, every time I walk in the mirror, I'm judging myself. Not because I'm in a hate state, but more so in a trying to make sure I'm getting better state and not worse. And if I am getting worse, at least I catch it so I can go the other way. There's something that I created called a blind spot, and not literally created, but it's just a method that I use that people live in. And you may be living in a blind spot currently where sometimes you have motivation to obviously look up things like this because a lot of people won't sit through knowledge like this. But if you've been in a position where you've gained weight, it's because you were living in a blind spot for so long where you didn't see the weight being gained. If you were conscious, you would have gained 5 pounds and be like, "Ooh, I'm going the wrong way. Let me catch myself." It's only when you're living in a blind spot where you can gain 20, 30, 40, 50. And it's just depending on how long the blind spot lasts, it's depending on how much weight you gain, and then you have to come back the other way. And it's just like the story where, like they say, the the train ride, when you figure out you're going the other way, isn't the expensive part. It's the fact that you have to pay all the way back. So get off as fast as possible at the nearest exit so you can just make it back as fast as possible. It's the same thing that you should do with weight loss. If you start going on the wrong track, you need to come the other way as fast as possible. Biology isn't destiny. While mindset matters immensely, biology plays a very real role in weight management. You should actually go get blood tests. I haven't yet like been super invested in this. Like I lost 100 pounds without caring about like blood tests, but I'm saying if you want the best results, I suggest doing that. Because if you have a slow metabolism, whether real or perceived, ranks as a top biological concern. While true metabolic damage is rare, metabolic adaptation is common. Years of yo-yo dieting can teach the body to become more efficient, holding on to every calorie as insurance against the next perceived famine. This isn't permanent damage, but it does require patience and strategic nutrition to restore metabolic flexibility. So hormonal imbalances is something that you should watch out for. There's something called insulin and leptin. There's a video that I have on. I'll leave it for you. It's super important, and it teaches you about insulin resistance and a couple other things. And just imagine with leptin and ghrelin. Just give you an example. Like let's say you have a hormone in your body that stops your brain from understanding that you have consumed enough food. So then it tells your stomach that you're still hungry. Well, your brain tells your stomach that you're still hungry. And that only happens when you have something called leptin resistance. So to remove that, what you would want to do is obviously start working out, doing things that are healthier habits, eating more healthy, and then it will remove the leptin resistance slowly. Um, Genetic predisposition, you don't have to worry about that really. Cravings and addiction, that is really more important than obviously a genetic disposition. Not necessarily saying it's more important, but most people don't have a family history problem. They just literally have, hormonal imbalances and craving and addictions. I just had to mention this because there are those people. Um, Processed foods are engineered to be hyperpalatable. If you don't understand what hyperpalatable means, it just means it tastes super freaking good. And then everything that we try to taste, basically, they engineer it to make it taste better. So if you ever had just like some cooked food that you cooked versus some processed food, it's a reason why it tastes different. And if you've ever went to a fast food place and you notice that it tastes the exact same, that's because they make it hyper palatable. Hijacking reward pathways in ways that make willpower alone an insufficient tool. That's what eating hyper palatable food does. Okay. Sleep stress. This one is terrible. The sleep crisis. I obviously lost 100 pounds without having like the most efficient sleep. Like I wasn't tracking it, but I also wasn't as busy as I am now, which could be a role on why I haven't lost my 10, 20 pounds as fast as I wanted to, because you can't really lose weight off 5 hours of sleep. And it's a great way to fast because if you're sleeping, you're not eating. And usually when you wake up, you don't just eat right away. It's a lot of times where if you train yourself to not eat breakfast right away, you can go like a 12, 16-hour fast on accident. And man, it goes a long way compared to trying to eat right away and then now you go work out and you're burning off your breakfast. It's a backward strategy, in my opinion. Um, Yo-yo dieting, the trap, we talked about that, the muscle loss during dieting. Aggressive calorie restriction without adequate protein and strength training causes muscle loss along with fat loss. Since muscle is metabolically active tissue, losing it reduces your metabolic rate and makes maintaining weight loss harder. So what you want to do is actually get a lot more protein, because if you get more protein, then it doesn't only just help you lose weight, but obviously retain muscle. Getting rid of the fat is going to be used super well with dieting, like especially if you're a lazy person and you don't like working out. So if you want to get rid of the fat fast, just diet like super good. It's counterintuitive to work out a lot and expect big change without expecting you to change your diet. It's just common sense, to be honest. I know this, and that's why I don't get mad at my results, because I know that it takes real change. If you want to make big changes, like if you want to see big change, you have to make big changes. Information overload. This probably isn't your problem. If you're dealing with information overload, just stop consuming stuff and take action. Real life challenges, time, money, and social dynamics. If you're dealing with social pressure, friends and family may not understand or support your choices, sometimes actively sabotaging your efforts with comments like, man, you're not fun anymore, or one bite won't hurt, or just tempting you with food that is very, like, obviously hyperpalatable, so it looks good, smells good. You're like, man, forget it, I'm just try one bite, and then one bite leads to 10. Food is social currency, and changing your relationship with it can strain relationships. It's like going out to get drinks with friends. You might lose those friends because you guys only bonded there. I don't drink, so I don't understand that specifically, but I do know what it means to lose friends. Like I remember I used to game with a lot of friends. I played a game and play Madden, chill. I don't do that anymore, so I haven't seen those friends in years. Cost of healthy eating, fresh produce, quality proteins, and whole foods often cost more than processed and alternatives. This one sucks a lot because I know it means to, only have a certain diet. Like I spend a few $100s on groceries a month, probably around $500 a month on groceries, and like it still never feels like it's enough. So no matter where you're at, even if you have $100, you have $200, just try to make it sustain wherever you're at. Don't try to go get the best, organic. No, if it's something that's $5.99, $3.99, sometimes I choose $3.99. It just depends on what it is. And it's just, you have to know that you're trading health for wealth just to trade it back later. And what do I mean by that? If you choose the $5.99 thing, well, you're probably going to live longer compared to later. If you have problems because you've been eating all this cheap stuff, you're going to have to spend a lot of money to fix those problems. So why not just eat healthy now? Because and also, if you don't have a lot of money, you can eat less. That's a great alternative. So you can use it as a good thing. There's people who are in a worse situation than you, who doesn't have the privilege as you. There's people in jail eating, off sodium, top ramen, and terrible foods. No calorie count, just sodium. And that's why people come home and they're fat. It's because of the diets in there. It's not because they have a lot of food. It's because of all the sodium. So at least you don't have to deal with that. Over-reliance on cardio. Cardio is just a way to get rid of some calories, stay healthy, train your heart, but you can't just depend on that alone for weight loss. I do like cardio because it helped me lose weight fast, but it didn't help me lose the 100 pounds at all. Just being consistent with my diet helped me lose 50 pounds, and then working out on football and doing fun workouts like basketball helped me lose the other 50. The plateau problem. Perhaps no challenge feels more demoralizing than hitting the plateau, the mysterious phase where the scale refuses to budge despite continued adherence to your plan. Plateaus are actually a sign that your body is adapting and often precede another phase of progress, but they feel like personal failure. They test patience, challenge resolve, and cause many people to either quit entirely or adapt increasingly extreme measures that ultimately backfire. Travel and dining out presents another set of challenges. Business trips, vacations, and social events disrupt routines and places and environments with limited healthy options and abundant temptations. The stress of maintaining healthy habits while navigating these situations can make travel anxiety inducing rather than enjoyable. The path forward from understanding to action. 10 psychological factors. These are 10 biological factors and 13 practical roadblocks that we just went over. The most important insight from examining these challenges is that the sustainable weight loss requires addressing all three categories simultaneously. You cannot willpower your way past hormonal imbalances. You cannot meal prep your way past emotional eating. And you cannot exercise your way out of all or nothing mindset. Each challenge needs to have its appropriate solution, and you need to find your specific trigger that's stopping you from getting to your goals. And often that means seeking support, whether that's from therapists or emotional struggles, medical professionals for biological issues, or coaches for practical implementation. The journey will be unique because you have your own combination of these 33 challenges or triggers, excuse me. It's supposed to be triggers, not challenges. It's unique, but some will resonate deeply. Others won't apply to you at all. The goal is to solve all of them that is relevant to you. You don't have to figure out every single trigger, just the ones that are relevant to you. If you felt like this was obviously positive and it helped you, let me know. And if other than that, just please implement this. Remember, health is wealth.